Angel Blue is an American soprano making waves in North America and across the Atlantic in Europe. Recent performances include the Metropolitan Opera, the Semperoper Dresden, with upcoming engagements at the Royal Opera House and a return to the Met. She's a regular presenter with the BBC Proms and past host of the Cardiff Singer of the World competition. Angel Blue stars in Manitoba Opera's upcoming production of La Traviata, singing the role of Violetta, and has joined me in the Diamond Lane for a conversation ahead of the show. Good afternoon, Angel.
Hi, good afternoon, Simon.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for being here in Winnipeg.
Thank you for having me.
So before we kind of, get to La Traviata and this particular production, you've really taken the world by storm. When I was writing your little bio, it says, 35 countries in the last 6 years, something like that?
Yes.
I'm wondering, with all of the traveling that you're doing, did you have to give up your season's pass to Disneyland?
No, actually, I have it right here.
For real?
Purse. Yes.
How often do you get to go?
When I'm at home, I try to go about once a week.
Really?
Yes.
What does that do for you as a performer?
It grounds me. It just reminds me. I mean, I've been going since I was 6 months old.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have one of my very first pictures is with Minnie Mouse and my dad. So I mean, it's just a good memory, and it's fun to just. I love Disneyland. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we all love Disneyland.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, I've only been to Disney World, but it's near the top of my bucket list of places to go. So as listeners might have gathered, California's home originally,
Yes.
right? Los Angeles, I guess more specifically. What can you tell me about your musical upbringing?
My musical upbringing was sort of everything. I mean, my dad and my mom just made sure that there was all kinds of different music playing in the house. So as a result, I mean, I listened to opera, I listened to jazz, gospel, a ton of gospel actually, because my dad was an opera-trained singer who could also sing gospel. So,
wow.
I mean, everything. I love country music. Country is probably one of my favorite genres to listen to, but I also like rock and roll and techno and everything. So, I mean, in the house, we heard all kinds of music. And because of that, I think it's just really what it did actually was it trained my ear very well. And especially as a classical trained musician, now I know what it is to listen for different instruments in the orchestra, probably because I do listen to so many different types of music.
Yeah, it makes you more well-rounded as a performer, right?
Absolutely.
But it wasn't just listening, you also played.
I do.
Right?
I still play 3 instruments.
You still keep them
I do.
up?
I play the bass guitar and the alto saxophone. I'm not really good on the saxophone, but I do scales every now and then.
Just to keep it up.
Right. And of course, I'm always playing the piano because I'm always learning rolls.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have, that vast musical background. When did you start singing classically, though?
My very first voice lesson with my dad happened when I was 8 years old.
Huh.
And I told my dad that I wanted to sing opera when I was 4. I saw a production, a concert sort of semi-stage production of Turandot. And I was 4, and I sat through it. It was only like 90 minutes, though.
Huh.
And when I was 4 years old, that was my earliest memory of being like, wow, I want to be like that. And then when I was 5, my dad bought me 2 recordings of Leontyne Price. One was called God Bless America, and the other was called A Program of Song. We used to have this old music store called Sam Goody, and you could buy like tapes and stuff. So, I mean, people today don't know what tapes are, but that's what I had.
I remember my first tape. My first tape was Aqua.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, for real. Like which is a really, it wasn't opera, it wasn't anything like that. But anyways, Barbie Girl, it was a thing. It was a big hit. All right. Anyway, I loved it.
Awesome.
So that was how you got introduced to classical
music, yes.
And then from there, how did you decide that it was going to be what you were going to do?
I've never really wanted to do anything else. I mean, I've had, of course, other sort of aspirations to do things that are also in entertainment, but I mean, it's always involved singing, and it's always involved classical singing. So for me, when I was a kid, I would. This is going to make me sound like a real nerd, but I would sort of dress up in my room, and I had a big mirror. One of the walls in my room was just a mirror. Huh. And I would stand in front of the mirror, and I'd blast Forza del Destino with like Leontyne Price. I think the cast was Leontyne Price and Maestro Placido Domingo and either Meta or Mazel conducting. And I would pretend to be Leonora, and I didn't know anything about the music then or anything like that, but that's what I just noticed over the years. I still do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just always lived inside of me. I've always wanted to do that. I haven't really wanted anything else. I think it's just, I personally feel that it's my lot in life to sing. Yeah. And because of that, I think that passion and desire and fire inside of me, once it dies down, then I know that I'm not supposed to do it anymore. But until then, it's what God put me here to do.
It's interesting how the world works, isn't it? You mentioned that recording that you listened to with Leontyne Price and with Maestro Placido Domingo, and then fast forward a few years, and all of a sudden you're working with Placido Domingo, right?
Yes.
In the LA Opera Young Artist Program.
Yes.
I need to ask, what's he like?
Oh, he's very nice.
He is.
He's a very nice person. He's actually. it's actually quite off. I guess the word is offsetting, off-putting a bit, because it's you would expect him, because he is a living legend.
100%.
You would absolutely. One would expect him to sort of come off as larger than life, big, grand opera guy, but he's actually, Actually, I was singing with him in, where was this? I think we were in Budapest, and the playoffs were happening. I don't know if that's what you call them for soccer, football.
Sure. Yeah.
And every time he came off of stage, he would go and look at his Nikki's tablet. Nikki is his personal assistant, and Nikki had his tablet on and had it on the game. And so, he gets this round of applause, and people are screaming and hollering, and he's looking at the game. So he's very much a very down to earth man.
Yeah, he's a grounded individual that way.
Yeah, quite.
But you just kind of alluded to it. And then from the program, you've gone on to perform with him on some amazing stages. I mean,
yes.
Budapest is one of them, but these colossal arenas, these open air shows.
Yes.
What's that like, to be beside someone who mentored you and then to take the stage with them?
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly a blessing. It's very humbling. It's exciting. Singing alongside of Maestro Domingo, I always try to put this in the interviews whenever I'm asked about him, because he's one of those people that when he comes in to sing, he's there to do a great job. He's always, in my opinion, he's always better than great. If it's a 10, Maestro's going to be at like a 100. And the way I feel is he's so calming to be around that he brings everybody up with him. So I've had days where I'm singing with him and I'm like, gosh, I don't sound that good today. I have a lot of phlegm. I'm tired. I just got here or whatever. And another thing is I've never heard him say that he's tired. I've known him for 11 years.
No
and
way.
in that time, I've never heard him say, I'm tired. I've heard him say, I need to rest the voice or something like that. He's clever. He doesn't say,
Yeah.
I'm tired. But anyway, he brings everyone up to where he is, or at least that's how I feel. And I'm not saying that in a flattery way towards myself, but I've noticed just even watching the operas that he's performed in when I was a young artist, it seems that everybody is brought up to par with him because he wants the show to be good. He wants everyone to be good. I think that's the sign of a true artist.
100%. And that's that drive, right? Like
Absolutely.
you alluded to when you're saying one day if you wake up and you're thinking, this isn't what I want to do, it's them. But for him, obviously it's something that he continues.
Yes.
For you, one of the things I want to touch on before we get to Manitoba Opera is this idea of being a concert performer and then a stage performer. And how do those differ to you as an opera singer?
Yes, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I really don't. I actually didn't know there was a difference. I'll be really honest. I didn't know that there was a difference really between the two, or that people have actually tried to place more focus on one over the other.
Categorize things?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that. I mean, to me, it's all music. It's all singing. Singing is fun. Singing is what I enjoy. I will say, in concert, and more specifically recital, I feel like I can be a little bit more of myself, which is the weird, crazy girl from L.A. But in concert, I do like the fact that there is sort of this more stately, very composed aspect of the opera singer. But then, of course, being on stage for opera, I get to embody a character. And I love that because I studied acting when I was younger. So that aspect of it has always been exciting for me.
All right, so let's get to that role. You're here in Winnipeg to
Yes.
perform Violetta in Verdi's La Traviata. Before we get to the role itself, how'd you get connected with Manitoba Opera? How'd you come here to Winnipeg?
I think it was my manager.
Yeah.
Yes, he was talking to, I think it was Larry actually that he was speaking to, and Larry invited me to come.
Larry
and
Durocher, yeah.
Yes, and I just, Marcus is my manager, and he sent me the email, and he's like, would you like to go to Winnipeg? And I was like, yes, I was almost Canadian. Can I tell you my quick Canadian
100%,
story?
yeah.
So my parents, my dad was a minister. He's passed away now. He's been passed away for 11 years. But he and my mom used to come up to Canada all the time to minister. They were on a program called, I believe it's 100 Huntley Street. They used to go on this program and tour around Canada. Well, they were in Vancouver, and they drove up here in the Jamboree, our motorhome at the time. My mom was pregnant with me. I wasn't due until June 11th. So my mom and my dad said, okay, well, let's go home, 1 month and whatever. Well, I came 3 days early, and they had just left Vancouver. And I said, Mom, I came 3 days after they left Vancouver. Oh. So I said, if you had stayed, I would have been Canadian-American. But anyway, I'm here for Manitoba Opera, happy to be here. After I found out all of the benefits that Canadians receive, I was a little hurt that my parents didn't
you're
say.
like, you wait 3 days, I guess,
Yes.
but
anyway,
fun.
but I'm very happy to be here with Manitoba Opera.
Have you been to Winnipeg before?
I haven't, no.
You haven't? How's your time been so far?
It's been great. I rented a car. I personally think the drivers here are really
we were
friendly.
talking about that off the air.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
definitely an experience. And I mean, I know we don't have the California warmth, but we do have the sunshine. So
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
beautiful.
there's no complaining about that. We're definitely a little chilly.
Yes.
To get to Manitoba Opera and Violetta, this is a role that you've performed before, right?
Yes.
Is there a challenge in returning to a role?
I don't feel a big challenge, but that's just because I come with an open book, if that makes sense. I like to show up. I've done I'll say me first. I've done me. I think something like 47 times. I don't know how many productions, but every time I show up to a role, I like to just come with like a white piece of paper that's totally blank, so that me, the director, and the conductor can start to sort of paint and draw on it. Because if I come in with all of my own ideas, then I feel like in a way that's being not fair to the production and my colleagues, as well, of course, the director and the conductor. So what I came to this performance with was I knew it was going to be a new production, and I just wanted to hear everyone else's ideas and what they thought about it before I started to create things on my own, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, opera to me is something that is collaborative, right?
Yes.
There's so many moving parts, and if everybody then comes with a blank piece of paper and is on the same page, it just makes the production itself even grander, and it just helps it move smoothly. So you touched on it. This is a new production, and in the spirit of cooperating with one another, it's actually a co-production. 5 Canadian companies, including Manitoba Opera, by the Canadian director Alain Gauthier. What can you tell us about this production?
I think what I like the most about this one is I've seen a lot of La Traviatas, but I feel this is for me, and maybe it's because I get to sort of originate it, but I think that in this production, she really is an authentic Violetta. I think we're very true to who she is from the standpoint of the play, from the letters and things written about her. I've read all of those. Alain has shared a lot of his ideas with me about them, and I think more than anything, it's not so conventional and classical that a young person can't enjoy it, and it's not so unconventional or modern that the opera goer for the last 50 years can't enjoy it and respect it as well. I think it's a happy medium of both, and I think actually the way that Violetta is portrayed in this piece, and not just Violetta, but Alfredo and as well as Germain and all of the chorus members actually have characters as well. So I think what we've done is we've really taken Traviata, and I say what Alain has done is really taken Traviata and he's brought it back to the basic, if that makes sense, and he's just created again a world where this woman really does truly shine, and her heart is being seen above all else. One sees that Violetta is truly a good-hearted, kind person in this production, or at least that's what we hope to portray.
Well, absolutely. I want to kind of to sum things up, because you touched on a lot of bits there, and one of them is that this, to you, and in touching, and I think you should use the word you, because it is collaborative, like we were just talking about. And so to me, as a young person who's, into classical music, into opera, though not an opera fight or, any of that, like, some of my friends to talk about it. But I mean, for me, as the new generation of singer, as somebody who's performing around the world, how do you engage that new generation of the audience of opera music? How do you get them in there? Those who are, maybe dismissive of it, or maybe those who just don't get it. How do you get them to buy into that?
I just try to be myself.
Yeah.
I can't do anything else. I mean, I've had some people say, Angel, you remind me of Leontine Price, you remind me of Jessie Norman. Oddly enough, nobody ever says that I remind them of Joan Sutherland, who's like one of my favorite sopranos. That's okay. Yeah, right. But I've had people say that, but I always tell them thank you, and then I always say, I hope though that you like what I do, because if you're looking at me to be like a good friend of mine who's Eileen Perez, or looking at me to be like Renee Fleming, I'll always fail you. I'll never do what you would hope for me to do, because I'm not. That's not me. I'm just Angel, and all I can do is portray and show people that I know, the people whom I know, how much I love opera, what it means to me, what it represents to me. If I come across as trying to be more grand or less grand or whatever, then people can feel that, So all I try to do is just to be myself, and that's really all I can do. So hopefully that's enough too.
The only thing ringing through my head right now is honesty is the best policy.
Absolutely.
And I mean, to me, and everything that I've read, it is the honesty in your performances that draw people in. And yeah, they might make the connections, but ultimately, it's just because, good things are going on, right? And so to me, what I'm looking forward to hearing is that honesty in this performance. And so looking forward to doing this. Angel, thank you so much for coming by the Classic 107 studio. It was a real pleasure to have you. You can see one of opera's great new stars, Angel Blue, in Winnipeg to perform the role of Violetta in a new production of La Traviata, co-produced by Manitoba Opera. The show begins this Saturday with shows on Tuesday and Friday following. For more information, visit manitobaopera.mb.ca or classic107.com.